Good morning and welcome to our Satsang. Let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, Beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, Saints of all religions, Beloved Swamiji, we humbly bow to you all. Divine Mother, we deeply thank you for blessing us, for being with us. Keep us always in the light, and may we serve Thee ever more perfectly as your instruments, blessing all those souls in this world, especially those in special need. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now we'll begin with some chanting and meditation.
When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I'll see thy light. When I awake, I'll see thy face. When I awake, I'll see thy light. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy light. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy light. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy light. Dancing together in thy light. Dancing together in thy light. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dream. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy joy. 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 When I awake, I'll end all fear. When I awake, I'll know thy love. When I dancing together in my life, dancing together in my life. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all sorrows. When I awake, I'll find thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy joy. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Dancing together in thy joy. Dancing together in thy joy. When I awake, I'll end all fears. When I awake, I'll know thy love. When I awake, I'll end all fears. When I awake, I'll know thy love. Mother, awake me from my dreams. Mother, awake me in thy love. Hand in hand we're dancing together. 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 Dancing together in thy love. Dancing together in thy love. Hand in hand we're dancing together. Dancing together in thy love. Dancing together in thy love.
And now in preparation for meditation, let's inhale, tense, and vibrate our bodies. Throw the breath out. And again, inhale, tense and vibrate. Throw the breath out. And one last time. Tense and vibrate. Throw the breath out. Now we'll meditate for about 10 minutes. Let's go deep right away, offering the heart's natural devotion up to the point between the eyebrows, calling to God there. Reveal thyself, reveal thyself. And feel his growing, loving response in our hearts. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. This upcoming Tuesday is a very special time, a very auspicious time. This is the anniversary of Rajarsi Janakananda's birthday, May 5th. He was born in 1892, just 6 months before Master. He was a highly advanced disciple, Yogananda's most advanced disciple, as a matter of fact. And I think it's fascinating that he was born just 6 months ahead of Master, and perhaps in the afterworld, I think perhaps undoubtedly, they talked of the beginning adventure, the spiritual adventure that they were going to have. And Yogananda used to call Rajarsi Janakananda Saint Lin. And also very interesting, thousands of years ago, when Yogananda was Arjuna, as he said, and his guru, Krishna, Babaji Krishna, Nakula, the positive twin of the Pandavas, was Rajarsi Janakananda, the same soul. And as Yogananda pointed out, even at that point in time, Yogananda was Rajarsi's guru. And so I want to read from Whispers from Eternity, and though indeed they had the blessing of the guru-disciple relationship, truly, what is that all about but divine friendship? So I want to read from Whispers from Eternity, Master's poem, some excerpts on friendship. Is friendship the weaving of the red strings of two hearts? Is it the blending of two minds into a spacious one mind? Is it the spouting of love fonts together to strengthen the rush of love on droughty souls? Friendship grows tall and sturdy in the soil of oneness in body, mind, and soul. Ah, friendship, flowering, heaven-born plant, nurtured art thou in the soil of measureless love, in a seeking of soul progress together, by two who would smooth the way each for the other. And thou art watered by attentions of affection, and the tender dews of inner and outer sweetness, of the inmost selfless heart's devotion. Ah, friendship, where thy soul-born flowers fall, there, on that sacred shrine of fragrance, the friend of all friends prays to come and remain. I'll be reading a few excerpts from this beautiful book, Paramahansa Yogananda Trilogy of Divine Love by Durga Mata. And Durga Mata came to Yogananda. She first met him in the Midwest, in Detroit, where Yogananda was lecturing, filling the largest halls in the land at that time, in 1927. And in 1929, a couple of years later, she came to Mount Washington to live and to become a nun. And at one point, Yogananda asked if she would care for Rajarsi Janakananda when he came for his periodic visits as often as he could come. He was not only a saint, but a very, very extremely busy captain of industry, a multimillionaire who had tremendous responsibility. And though he wanted to be with Master quite a lot, of course, he could only break away from his business from time to time until in the later years, in the early 50s, he was able to move there to Los Angeles area and be there full time with Master until Master's passing. And so Durga Mata had a absolutely fascinating chapter in her life when Master asked her to care for Rajarsi, because she was very close to Yogananda and was his cook and housekeeper and so forth. And so she was always working back and forth between the two. Yogananda was very keen, again, Rajasi Janakananda, as a multimillionaire and an extremely generous soul, was helping Master tremendously with his work. And so there would be a project. Master, of course, had many, many projects internationally. So there'd be a project, and so Yogananda, as he said, he has a fiery personality. He would say to Durga, okay, now go, St. Lin would be visiting, go and ask St. Lin, if he can help with this project. And Durga, knowing St. Lin at this time very well, knew that St. Lin, again, being very generous, but took more time because he wanted to make sure that if he was going to give these funds, and often vast funds, to the work, then he didn't want it to create any disturbance in his business, only so that in future he could give even more. And so there was such a lila between Durga Mata and Yogananda and Saint Lin, and this beautiful book that Durga Mata herself wrote is fascinating, very inspiring, and one I urge you to read. So I'll be reading a few excerpts. Okay. Okay, here we are. This was Saint Lin meeting Yogananda for the first time, just prior. In the middle of January 1932, I was driving to my office as usual. But on the way, I saw a large billboard with a picture of Master. I thought, what a striking woman. Later, I saw advertised in the newspaper a Hindu by the name of Swami Yogananda who was giving lectures in town. I immediately had an inner urge to go and hear him. We all heard his lectures and took his classes. It wasn't until after I had seen Master a few times on the platform did I realize that the woman's picture I had seen on the billboard and the saint that stood before me were one and the same person. I couldn't sit or keep my body, and especially my hands still, not even for a moment. On the second night of the class, I became aware that I was sitting upright, my spine straight, and I was absolutely motionless. I looked down at my hands, which were so restlessly moving before, and which were now perfectly still. Marveling at this great stillness I felt, I looked up at the platform. I saw surrounding Master's body a beautiful blue light, which almost enveloped the whole stage. I noticed Master looking down at me, smiling. I never felt that restlessness since. I knew I had found the path that gave me inner peace and satisfaction, and that I found that something tangible I was seeking, my Guru. And continuing, Master's campaign was scheduled for January 19th, 1932 in Kansas. After a few nights of lectures, Master sent his secretary, Mrs. Marquardt, to see Mr. Lin at his office. Mr. Lin immediately asked her for an interview with Master, which was anxiously given. Miss Marquardt reported to Master's pleasure that Mr. Lin was attending his lectures and wanted to talk with Master. Master and Mr. Lin, who became his principal disciple, met again for the first time after incarnations of separation. Master instantly recognized his long-lost friend of the distant past. And about a year later, Yogananda was very, very keen on having Rajasi come to Mount Washington, his international headquarters, which he had established 7 years earlier in 1925. But again, as much as Rajasi wanted very much to come earlier, he couldn't. He was tied up by personal reasons and also his business. So here's a letter then that Yogananda wrote to Rajasi, November 2nd, 1932. I have an undying desire to show you this place, even if it is for a day. We all have been waiting for you almost a year, patiently and anxiously. I want you to see the place with which you are cooperating. Please let us know. It would be wonderful if you could meditate with me for even a couple of days, for long periods, without the business environment. This would be for your higher realization. And I have to give you something more, some new methods to stimulate your spiritual growth. Master got everyone on the job to clean everything from the tower to the basement. Master himself was outside with his broom sweeping the sidewalks. Everything had to be neat as a pin. Master reminding us once again, Mr. Lin is a very clean and particular man. Master brought all the varieties of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and dates in preparation for Mr. Lin's arrival. On January 14, 1933, Master jubilantly departed for the station to meet Mr. Lin and bring him to his spiritual home for the first time. Master was so proud to show Mount Washington to him. Master moved out of his own bedroom and slept in the library so Mr. Lin could use his quarters and bed. He cooked for him and watched over him like a doting mother. This was Mr. Lin's first visit, but by far not his last. One evening on this first visit, Master came to my room and asked for a needle and thread. I gave it to him. He sat and started to sew, mending Mr. Lin's broken suspenders. I offered to sew for him. But no, he wanted to sew them himself. Master said, just think, a man of his means to go without like this. He never buys anything for himself. He wears these broken and worn suspenders that are falling apart. This is the true spirit of renunciation. And so the Leela, the amazing Leela of Paramahansa Yogananda with Durgamata, with Saint Lin, with Swamiji, and so many others that played such an important part. There are many saints there, as Yogananda said in a vision, that there would be many Jivan Muktas, freed in the high state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and some Siddhas, which would be free of all karma, material karma, astral karma, and causal karma, totally free, not a trace of karma. And there's a fascinating episode, Roma and I were talking about it yesterday, of Saint Lin's life. He, of course, as a highly advanced soul, liberated in this lifetime, was very accustomed to these extraordinary experiences. And you could see by looking into his face that he was a being of great inner radiance. And so toward the end of his life, he had an experience that would be the test of tests for anyone. And that was that instead of the samadhis, which he experienced so frequently, the energy, the light withdrew. And all that was there was darkness. And you can imagine a saint that had struggled, for so many incarnations, finally finding his guru, practicing Kriya with tremendous success, all of these things. And all of a sudden, there was nothing but darkness. And it lasted, some time. And then, at one point, he began to see a very small light there at the spiritual eye. And then, one by one, the gurus appeared. The spiritual eye formed perfectly. He went through the light, and he was free. And one thinks of the tests that these great ones go through, and no one's spared, whether it's Yogananda, Jesus Christ, our own Swami Kriyananda, on it goes. And as Yogananda explained, and as we're experiencing now with this international turmoil, that these tests are only meant to make us strong. And so Saint Lin was a tremendous help for Yogananda. There's a very sweet chapter where Yogananda was just really dying, you might say, to get back to India. And he had a vision of his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, who said that Yogananda, you must come, because he would be swimming out of his body soon. So that was it for Yogananda. He had been planning to go to India, but now with his guru calling, he rushed back. And this was in 1935, and he stayed for over a year in India and toured Europe and so forth. And that, of course, many, many devotees that were so anxious to see him. And of course, he did meet Sri Yukteswar, as we read in the autobiography of a yogi. And what an extraordinary experience that was. And he met his relatives and disciples, of course, that he had been in touch with in many ways, of course, inwardly especially, that were just, you might say, ecstatic to see the Guru. Well, during this time, Durga Mata, Gyana Mata, Yogananda's most highly advanced woman disciple, and Rajasi were conspiring to create a retreat by the ocean in Encinitas. A beautiful, beautiful retreat that many, many to this day have experienced, and some people from India have had that experience too. A very high vibration overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Absolutely beautiful. And so they shared with all the disciples, especially those in touch with Master, don't tell him. We want this to be a surprise. And so Master came back after his long time in India, back to America. And of course, the disciples were so overjoyed to see him. And so at one point, he wanted to go down to the south of California in the Encinitas area. And so he, with Durga Mata and others, got a car and drove on down. Well, he had seen the property in Encinitas before it was developed years ago and felt a very strong soul attraction. And yet they wanted it to be a surprise. And so purposely, and this was just good fun, the driver passed the hermitage when he saw Master dozing in the back seat and drove on a little ways to the town of La Jolla. And Master says, well, where are we? And the driver told him, he says, oh, no, you should turn back. And so as they were turning back and heading towards Encinitas, Divine Mother was telling Yogananda inwardly that there was this wonderful gift. And so Master was saying, don't tell me, I want it to be a surprise. And so then, of course, they pulled into Encinitas with Master, with his perfection as a human being as well as a divine being, oohing and awing, as if it was a surprise. And there was the building. It wasn't quite finished. It was a large project, and this was a time that was not easy to get the materials and so forth prior to World War II, after the Depression there in America. But they had a good amount of it done, and it was absolutely beautiful. So there's a picture of Saint Lin and Yogananda and Durga and Gyana Mata all there enjoying the hermitage. And Saint Lin did so much for Master's work. Master had prayed that Divine Mother would send a friend, a deep spiritual companion, who would not only be highly advanced spiritually, what a rare combination this is, but also be very wealthy, so that he could help with Master's extraordinary work. And Master's, he was so productive in his life. And with Rajasi, this combination of these two highly advanced souls did so much for the work, not only in America, but of course in India and around the world. And at one point, Yogananda felt inwardly guided to withdraw from his, as he called, campaigns, where again, from 1920 to the 30s, for that decade, he was filling the largest halls in the land. It was an absolute phenomenon. He was really thought of as a super guru, which of course he was. But then he felt inwardly that it was time now to focus his energy on training the disciples, as well as working on his great scriptures, the interpretation of the Gita, the Bible, and so forth. And so he was raising enormous amounts of money during this time. And he said to Rajarsi, now he felt inwardly guided to stop his campaigns. And Rajarsi was really taken aback because this meant, even though he was a very wealthy man, that this was going to mean the whole financial burden was on him. And he, as a, again, devoted disciple, after getting over his initial shock, then of course he did so much for the Master's work. And so what a Leela, and what a special time for us. Tune into his birthday, drink in his vibrations. And there are so many beautiful photos of Rajarsi and Master. Master used to call him, although Rajarsi Yogananda was 6 months older than Yogananda, Master used to call him his little boy. And when Rajarsi would come periodically to visit, again, as much as he could, from Kansas City in the middle west of the US, Yogananda, excuse me, would purposely not see him for a couple of days because he knew with the demands of his work that there was a bit of a strain. I think that might be thought of as an understatement. So he would wait for a couple of days to see him, although of course he was very anxious to see him, until, as he said, Rajarsi had his little boy face, where his whole features, his whole being was softened by the vibrations of the hermitage. And he stayed at Encinitas by the ocean. He would often go down to the ocean and spend a lot of time. Yogananda used to call him Nature Boy because he loved to get sun baths, and he was very careful with his diet and so forth. And so Rajarsi and Master spent so much time together as little boys, and it was, you might say, divine children. It was really sweet because Yogananda said that Rajarsi was able to accept all this affection from Master, hugging him and so forth, because he was, free to such a great extent of his ego, and in time, of course, was free in this lifetime. And he said that if he had given to the other disciples this kind of outward demonstration of his affection, it wouldn't have been good. They wouldn't have known what to do with it. Perhaps they would have even taken it to their egos, which would have been a shame, because his way really was more impersonal. He said he liked to teach others just by a glance in order to impart whatever lesson was needed. But with Rajarsi, he had this divine companion. And again, they went back a long, long way. Rajarsi was not Nakula. And again, one of the Pandavas, and undoubtedly highly advanced at that point in time. And so, as dear friends, there was so much fun to be had in shelling peas together, and going out in the garden, and gathering fruit. And Rajarsi himself was very drawn to the desert, and so he got a home out in Borrego Springs, which was a few hours from Encinitas, from the coast inland. And he loved farming and so forth, and so he was always bringing Master the choice fruits and vegetables from his farm, which Master, of course, loved and would distribute to the disciples. And so a rare experience like this. From time to time, with St. Francis, with others, we read and are deeply inspired by these experiences with these saints, that they know each other. They see the God shining in one another. And of course, Master, Rajarsi certainly too, would see God in all. But when you have two saints on this level, it's so extraordinarily precious. And Swami Kriyananda, who spent some time, Swami coming to Yogananda in 1948, Rajarsi passed in 1955. So Swami was able to spend some time with Rajarsi. And he said that Rajarsi was a man of few words. Really, hardly any small talk, if at all. He would talk primarily of Guru and meditation. And when Swami and the other monks and renunciates were on the grounds, then he would come up and silently bless them. And when he looked into Yogananda's eye, into Rajarsi's eyes, after Yogananda passed in 1952, there he saw Yogananda shining through. One light, as Yogananda said, in two bodies. And so during this auspicious time, and again, we love our auspicious times in India especially, and around the world, this is the time to really, if you haven't been acquainted with Rajarsi Janakananda, do so, because it gives us great inspiration to drink and drink of the lives of these great and perfected disciples, because they show us the way. As we are going through this labyrinth and during these trying times, as we are trying ourselves to find ways to inspire ourselves and inspire others, to deepen our meditations, to deepen our seva, to expand our hearts. So I wanted to close with this was in the mid-40s, and this was a letter to Rajarsi Janakananda to share a little taste of Yogananda's feeling for his highly advanced disciple. This is January 22nd, 1944. So this is a letter to Rajarsi from Master. My blessed beloved, your last note made me very happy. You are the only one on earth to whom I take my troubles for the organization. You are the only one who consoles my anxiety for the future. Everyone else I have to console. There is no word which I can use to express my feeling for all your goodness to me and to us. Tears come to my eyes as a great divine love flows over me and radiates and envelops you wherever you are. God certainly took your form and heart to suit my love for an ideal understanding friendship and spiritual idealism. Nothing else can I say which can express my thoughts adequately. So let's meditate now briefly, and then we will have closing psalm. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of our winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire, only you did stray, flung lifetimes away, imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love, all the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam, only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away. Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire. Only you remain, and life again. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away, imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love, all the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam, only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away.
Okay. Well, now Roma will join us for our affirmation and for healing prayers.
Hello, everyone. Would you like to unmute your microphone to speak?
Oh, I see. No, it's fine. It's
Okay.
controlled by those guys.
So let's close our eyes, and with all of our heart's energy focused at the point between the eyebrows, let's affirm together. God's light is within me and around me.
God's light is within me and around me.
With the sword of faith in my hand, with the love of God in my heart, I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill the world with God's light. God's light is within me and around me. With the sword of faith in my hand, with the love of God in my heart, I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill the world with God's light. God's light is within me and around me. With the sword of faith in my hand, with the love of God in my heart, I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill the world with God's light. And now silently, with all of your energy at the point between the eyebrows, God's light is within me and around me, with the sword of faith in my hand, with the love of God in my heart. I am a warrior of light. I join my brothers and sisters everywhere to overcome fear with faith, hatred with love, and disease with health. Let us fill the world with God's light. Now let's the beautiful energy from this satsang, from Master, with Rajasi's blessings and Divine Mother's love. Let's send this energy out to the world, to all those in need, to our Guru Bhais, to our families, co-workers, souls in need all over the world. See everyone radiant with light, filled with God's love. And let's pray together. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in all bodies, minds, and souls. Om